Attention gamers. As many of you know, I'm like the freaking Dr. Fauci of diagnosing stupidity on the Rift, as I can't turn a passive eye to the various syndromes that are leaving children and families having to deal with grave losses of LP. And among all the malding morons making grown men mad, nothing compares to the IQ light switch that gets violently turned off when either of these flatulent feeders gets locked in during Champion Select. In the past, I have examined case studies of those who have succumbed to the swirls of stupidity, showing that even in rare cases when one of these morons is raised with a silver spoon in his mouth, aka fed like a fatty by some first-time dizzy ditz with an apparent case of separation anxiety from her fountain, he still cannot resist the urge to fulfill the stereotype that he is nothing more than a win shitter in a world where those who shit wins can never get wins. Now, many of you are probably familiar with a video about 2 girls and 1 cup, and for those who aren't, you should probably be thankful. But today I decided to stick to that video's theme of getting shit on by seeing what happens when you pair Tweedledee and Tweedledum in a lane together to determine if having 4 times the crit against a typical AD dimwit will be a hit, or if doubling the amount of win shit will force your team to rage quit. This is 2 win shitters 1 lane. Now please abuse the upward thumb and give that subscribe button the D so that you can be informed of my future activity on this tube of you, and let's get into the gameplay. Now, full disclosure, I don't typically play either of these champions because I have some level of dignity, but here was the rune page I pulled off the interwebs made by some clearly lost soul maining these mouth breathers, and so my only attempt to explain the reasoning behind these runes are that you typically douche dash your way deeper and deeper into danger when you play them, so giving you damage and healing the longer you are in the danger zone, I guess, makes sense, but that's about all the pretend guide crap you are going to get out of me before we get into running it down. And since we committed in draft to being dumb donkeys, we just continued the negligible IQ decision train by saying screw it to support items and then flat out picking a fight to the death right at level 1, and to my surprise this strategy actually worked against these bird brains as we split the couple up and widowed the quill bitch right in front of her eyes to claim first blood. We come back to lane and both swaddle ourselves in the shitters swirls as the Yasuo scores a field goal with his, and then I do a dash into blood sword slash, which sparks numbnuts here to go douche dashing and just begging the tower to fist him, but that pretty pigeon was too busy crying bloody murder to touch him, and thus no gold was awarded for that small episode of Yasuo syndrome. And now if my mother was here, she would tell me to just back off and play safe and that I am adopted and need to move out of her basement, but guess what, she ain't here, so we're going in on a solo mission to see how many missed skill shots and cancelled autos it takes to pluck the prized feather, and then I come back to reality only to see frozen balls master yi running down to piss in my Cheerios. But I'm like Usain Bolt had rough sex with the Phantom of the Opera as I outsprint the samurai to tower and then point and laugh as my statue informs him a few times what a dumbass he is. Enter Winshitter numero uno back into the team deathmatch we have created in lieu of farming or playing any part of this laning phase correctly, so I let him trip over himself 1v2 for a bit as I nervously pace back and forth like a child who hasn't pissed in a week until things start to look shaky, and I don't want to be an only child, so I grow a pair of balls then splatter my own bloody cum all over me and rejoin to ensure we get a winner Winshitter dinner out of this one. Oh, and just in case you are in utter shock that 2 trolling airbags are winning lane, we also had a top lane Yumi that was somehow out trading a set. Anyways, I am just on my way back from laughing at our mid laner for dying his 3rd straight pointless death when I see my bro, who doesn't have a reputation of waiting till his friends are around before diving head first into bad decisions, but luckily I was close enough to give birth to a bloody version of myself and join in this piss fest until they make like birds and get the flock back to fountain. Then Rift Alexa informs us that apparently birds are higher on the food chain than dragons, and I just know that the sped sparrows will be pathing worse than a GPS with no battery, so I tell my brother to be the yasshole I know he can be, and surely enough he positions himself to piss them off. And to be honest, I am kind of getting used to having a Zed ult on a 20 seconds cooldown as I get the kill on hubby dubby dick wad, then we hastily tell these rogue chode midgets to piss off because we need to continue on with our quest to make a dead bitch kebab with a recently widowed pelican. Now when this phony Yone piece of shit champion got released, I know a bunch of guys who probably just spam their mastery level 7s every time they find out some other dude is boning their girl were getting unhealthily excited thinking about the synergies between the Wind Twins ult, so this play here was to satisfy that subset of idiots. And in case you are feeling deceived out of an expected performance eventing and then subsequently flaming your teammates after clicking on a video featuring both Yasuo and Yone, you don't have to worry because our mid lane dyslexic Twitch has found a way to die 4 times in 10 minutes while simultaneously flaming our jungler for not being around to hold his hand every time he decides to right click the enemy nexus and then turn his monitor off. But I am starting to learn firsthand that the classic ignore farm, ignore vision, ignore the map and just charge at the enemy with one objective and one objective only. To dash hash and slash every enemy in sight like you're playing Fruit Ninja is just the most effective way to get kills on these champions, which probably explains why they are well accustomed to having no color on their screens, but this shit was working here, so I wasn't about to call mom and have her pick me up. And then we catch the one who has been going straight Matt Stoney status like he was practicing for a rat eating contest all damn game, but he is off being a wall fetish flippy boy as Yumi proves why the champ typically doesn't take flash, and I obviously can't let her have all the embarrassment to herself, so I do likewise only for that bladed butt muncher to parkour his way out. However, you may have noticed I got within 6 feet of him at one point, and my windshitter syndrome is highly contagious as he comes straight back in like a possessed pedophile saying, "Hey buddy, you look like you could use 800 gold. Now there's a famous saying where I'm from that goes, a grown man only realizes his full potential the day a magical kitten shit reverse cowboys him and queefs little green beans up into his ass. And so I test if my full potential is enough to combat Mr. 200 years, and considering we only had to both blow all of our cooldowns to take him out 2v1, I would say the balance is about at the level where Riot intends it to be. But my jungler and my mid laner have been working hard to make their presence felt in the game, as you can see by Mr. McFister being worth shutdown gold almost immediately after that last fight, but I gladly accept said shutdown and then I do some synchronized Fruit Ninja get your ass slashed and spread like buttering with my bro. And then I get my first symptom of Yone syndrome as I stab one of these hooded midget employees in the head, which procs the sped swirlies, and I just can't resist going in on 4 of them only to decide that just reactivating my E would be too easy, so I burn my flash first as this male stripper proves why he wasn't smart enough to get a real job and has to aerial bang meat spin his man schlong around for money by diving deep into danger and awarding our Twitch his first kill ever in League of Legends, woohoo. And then I don't know if all the new shiny objects in the store have people acting weird or if my real rank is showing as greed and bad mechanics are taking turns on the mic until I see glow in the dark Mr. Tomness looking like a thick snack, so I amniotic fluid lube myself up and murder his ass right in front of his quill bitch of a wife before she can feather heather my sped anus. Big surprise, my young dumbass brother tried to 1v Wednesday and died alone deep in their jungle, and while the urge to sequel his win shit performance was there, I figured if I got one of those feeding pink gunslinger Robin Hoods as bird bait, I could lure the pussies with the plumes out just enough for me to say surprise mofos group up and lick my nips before nabbing a quick 7 hundo and returning back to this fat frog who was guarding my shitter spawn while I was gone. I catch the tail end of a chump chase up top, and considering the rest of my team was 1 in 15 at this point, the sword circle surprise 5000 that Talon had waiting in the bushes didn't feel so hot for my Yas who blindly went right back into the bush to ensure that there was a 1-for-1. So I stopped to pay tribute with a few spinny wind shits in his name. Then the thought of me blue balling these birds out of actually doing something useful made me jerk off my E key one too many times, resulting in just about all my cooldowns being wasted for no reason, but luckily birds of a feather still got fucked together, so back to fountain for their bot lane, and then right when I think the fight is over I see Talon just glitter bomb himself, thinking my jungler's ass is about to be turned into sliced baby food, but wee Rocky Balboa confronts me, which distracts wall hopping Henry from the easy kill. I request some family time, which prompts white tights to get dramatic before deciding that the same wall I've proven I can hop over twice this fight already would be a good one to flash over, and so I follow the leader and tickle his pickle once more. A category 6 shitfest breaks out in river as everyone's ults and summoner spells drop faster than a fat ass on a water slide, but surprisingly there are no casualties as our red buff sends a group text inviting everyone to the after party at his house, which later turned out to be odd considering he wasn't even home, but it still ended up being a good venue for some synergistic wind shitting, as I honestly surprised myself with the amount of damage we put out as 2 measly airbags, which results in a commanding ace. So obviously windshitter syndrome has nothing to do with the actual stats or skill balance of these champions, but almost entirely due to the fact that these things give you the confidence to, I don't know, dash into their entire team in their base without warning or any teammates in the area, only to learn what it feels like to have every orifice on your body plugged up at the same time like you are the star of some edgy hardcore porno. And learning lessons just isn't a thing when you were born into this family, as you see my brother immediately go back in solo attempting to pull off the same stunt we just failed at together. And the later the game got, the more symptoms I experienced as I started doing things like blindly ulting over walls because I knew that my overtuned kit would at least partially bail me out for my stupidity and let me pull off the first kill before screaming bloody murder and retreating to a bush, only to be kind of impressed with myself that the second fight was that close when I should have been embarrassed of that entire play in general. But I couldn't, as I now had severe Yone syndrome, and together with my brother we just kept overcommitting with our flaccid windcocks hanging out like delinquent children until we finally lost the game. So I guess it's poetic to show that even when you absolutely stomp a lane, having two teammates affected by windshitter syndrome on the same team when the remaining members had less than optimal contributions, you are just stacking the deck against you. Let me know what you want to see in terms of league content, variety games, or videos you want me to react to, or any feedback in general in the comments, and I will be sure to implement it all in future videos. Shout out to the Patreons supporting me, as this video in particular is almost certainly demonetized by this point, so I appreciate the love. Pet your dog, jerk your ween, don't play these two airheads bot together, and brush your teeth tonight. Rav out.